Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our November Talk Music Webinar. We're excited you're here. We are excited also to have Sister Brittani Scott with us. As you can see, she's here and ready to go. We had a great month last month, and this month is a great topic as well. So I can't wait for her to share with us what she's wanting to share. And I'll give you a little sneak peek. It is a great topic about kind of collaborating and working together and the advantages of that. And so I think that's such a great topic for all of us because we all kind of can use this. And we were talking here before we went live and talking a little bit about our nature and just about, sometimes we kind of want to do it ourselves and just hard to delegate. If anybody can agree with that, at least that's what I struggle with sometimes too. So what she's going to share with us, I think, is a great topic that we all need to hear. So I'm giving just a few moments here as some of you are still coming in. I'm watching to give it a few minutes here. If you're new to this, which I do see a few names that are new, if you're new to this, please be thinking about questions that you can ask Sister Brittani. When she's done, we'll open it up for some time. If you have any questions you want to ask her, and we'll kind of put you on with her and just ask your questions. I think that's always what we would love to see and what we want for you guys to have access to. So I just want to go ahead, Sister Brittani, I think it's time. We'll go ahead and let you start. I'm going to go off screen and then I'll be back after you're done and we'll open it up for some questions. Thank you so much for being here and take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be with you all and to share this topic just because I think it is definitely something we could all benefit from being reminded of. And there hopefully will be some things in here that you can take with you and maybe start applying pretty quickly. I like to I'm a practical kind of person, and so I'm the kind that I want a list, I want some ideas, I want something that's practical that I can start using right away and figure out how to apply this. So hopefully you will get something like that out of this talk. But I am talking about the power of creative collaboration. And just starting off with the whole idea of creativity, sometimes we can kind of put the idea of creativity in a little box, and sometimes people just really embrace creativity and some people not so much. So I think it's important to remember that really Genesis 1:1 says it all. In the beginning, God created, and creativity is a characteristic of God and should be celebrated and encouraged among his people, and that's us. So I think it's really cool when we are creating something that we are really I guess just displaying a characteristic that is of God as well. But we should be intentional about making space for creativity to flourish in the church. So how many times do we try to do it all in our ministry or department? And if you guys are, working in a music ministry, if you're a music director, we tend to pile it all on ourselves, and we aren't that great at delegating and or collaborating sometimes with other people. But this can easily lead to frustration. It can lead to burnout and sometimes a job that's not as well done as we would have hoped or wanted. And we really don't have to live that way. We don't have to work that way. Our ministry does not have to be like that. And we have access to creative people that can and should be helping us. And it also helps create more excitement, more momentum in your music department, really in any department when you have that creative collaboration. So creative collaboration is a powerful, powerful resource, and we need to look at it as such. Not everyone is creative in the same way, and that's a good thing because different people are going to bring different things to the table. They're going to bring different perspectives, different personalities, different backgrounds, experiences. They're going to have a different story, and all of those things work together to really create something that is unique and powerful. So the people that you invite into a creative, collaborative setting are going to view your church a little differently than you. They're going to view your services, your special events, whatever it is that you're doing, they're going to have a little different view based on their own experiences and their own perspective. And that is an amazing resource. It's something that we need to use. We need to hear those stories and perspectives because it's going to help us be more effective. When we take these differences and we direct them toward the same vision, great things will happen. And I totally 100% believe that. And we're more effective in reaching and ministering to diverse congregation. And hopefully, our goal is to have a diverse congregation that feels connected. And when your team buys in, like you get people involved, they're bought in or invested in a project or the vision of your ministry, that's going to create excitement. It's going to create momentum, and it makes all of us more likely to do better work. And then this last little point here in this section is probably one of my favorites, but the best ideas win. And that might sound a little funny, but in our culture, we tend to praise and promote individual achievement. We take pride in the fact, I did this myself, or I'm going to get the credit. And, we probably don't like to think of ourselves as that kind of person, but there can be a little bit of that selfish, desire for the credit, especially when something goes really well. But, why is it that we want the credit anyway? And I'm not saying that you guys do this, but I know if we find ourselves in this position, or if we do, it's good to remember that all the glory belongs to God. He's going to get the glory for whatever it is that we are doing anyway. So why not invite more people to be a part of the process and let them experience what he can do with what we offer him? Like getting all of these other people involved in that, I think is just such a beautiful thing. And when it comes down to it, God's going to get the glory anyway, not us, right? One example I have personally is co-writing, and co-writing is definitely a creative, collaborative type of thing. And I have really learned as a songwriter that we build or create better things together. Excuse me. We are able to build on other ideas until the best ones remain. And I know that there are songs that I have written with other people that would not be what they are if it hadn't happened in that creative setting, that collaborative setting. I didn't have it in me on my own, and it's okay to admit that. And that creative, like I said, creative collaborative type of setting really produced something amazing because everybody was able to work together to create, these songs that we did on my last project and one that's coming up. And I'm really excited about. But the truth is, innovation, creativity, growth, they're all born out of a collaborative approach. Creative collaboration challenges us and those involved to push for the best ideas, to grow, and really to be the best team that we possibly can be. And that should be our goal, right? We want to do things with excellence. And when we work together, we really challenge each other to do even better. So I've got a couple quotes here from Ryan Hollingsworth from Elevation Church. He says, when we have the same vision and goal, it takes out the favoritism for our own ideas. We don't want our idea, we want the best idea. And this is going back to that, the best ideas win. When we understand that all of us are better than one of us, which is so true, we realize we don't have to be responsible for having all the good ideas. We can spread them around and piggyback on other ideas to find the best solution. And in reality, that takes some pressure off of us. If you're relying on yourself to carry the whole load and to, create the special service programs and this event and that, when we're relying just on our own selves, then, we are responsible to have the best ideas all the time. And that is not going to happen. But when we connect with other people, that takes some pressure off of us, and we know that we can work together to come up with the best solutions or the best ideas. So it's important to give yourself a break. You do not have to carry the entire load. Most of us are not full-time music directors, although I would say that this topic goes for all of you who are as well. But most of the music directors that I know, they work another job, they have families, they have other responsibilities, they might be involved in other ministries, throughout the church. And if you are trying to carry the entire load of the music ministry and do all of these other things, it's just going to create frustration. And I mentioned this already, but burnout. So we need help and we need each other. And we need to admit that, well, that it's okay to admit we need help. That is not a bad thing. And in reality, that's going to help you to get to a much better place when you can stop and say, all right, I cannot do this all by myself. And I know that God is going to put people in my life or in this ministry, or he already has, and I just need to look and see who is there to really come and help make this the best that it can be. So identify your strengths and weaknesses. And I'll say just really quick, I am a bit of a fast talker, but I'm also got several pages here that I want to get through. So I might be going a little fast, and you can always go back and watch this in the archives later if you need to catch anything else as I speed through. So anyways, back to identify your strengths and weaknesses. And another little quote here, we are all uniquely gifted and talented to do something, not everything. I'm going to say it one more time. We're all uniquely gifted and talented to do something, not everything. And own your part and be open to ideas and feedbacks from other people. Don't try to own everything. Just give 100% in the area of your strength. And that quote comes from Tim Schrader from The Grid. He's a community manager there. But I just think that's super important to realize, like, God has gifted me to do certain things, and there are other things that I am just not gifted at, I'm not good at. And that's okay, because there's going to be people who are, and that's the beauty of the body of Christ. I mean, it talks about, you know, us all filling the role in the body of Christ. And when we all come together with our strengths, we're able to help others where they're weak, and we have other people helping us where we're weak. So it's important to identify those things. Again, going back to some of my personal experiences would be like with songwriting, lyrics and the format and how the pieces work together. Those tend to be my strengths when it comes to songwriting, but melodies are not. I feel like I end up kind of in a little box when I write melodies, but when I get together with other people that are really good at writing melodies, then we're able to create something I could not do by myself. Can I write melodies? Sure. Will it be better if I'm writing with someone who that's like their strength? They are great with melodies. Yes, it's going to be so much better. And again, that's just one of my own personal examples, but it's important to just make sure that you are identifying where you're strong, where you're weak, and then that creative team, where that comes in, is we all get to work together, and your weakness isn't quite so obvious anymore because you've got somebody on your team who is super strong in that area. It's just an awesome thing. So inviting people to join your creative team. I'm going to try to give a few places that you can look for people and some things that you should do to really create a creative environment for the people. But first, before we go any further, and I know most of you will do this, but I like to throw these little disclaimers out anyways, just in case. But I think the very first step is always talking to your pastor. And to do that, if you really want to sell this, you need to put together a well thought out presentation with the benefits and your vision really for the creative team. And creative teams can be really for anything. It can be for any department. They can be for a specific project or for the entire, music department overall. But you need to figure out what you're wanting to use a creative team for. Maybe even have some ideas of people that you would like to reach out to and why. And then talk to your pastor, see if he really catches your vision for this. And if he gives you the go ahead, then you're free to go. So like I said, this can be a songwriting team, which I encourage every church. If you do not have a team that might be writing or working on new music that is specific to your church culture, I highly recommend that you do so. I think it's very beneficial. I think right now God is raising up apostolic songwriters and artists, and we need to be writing stuff that is relevant to the church and to our congregations. You don't even know sometimes, I think, how just connecting with the season that your church is in, which, I mean, you probably do, because you're picking songs and selecting songs that are fitting that season anyways. But when you can write specifically to the season that your congregation is in, that's amazing and powerful, and is going to support everything that God is wanting to do and what your pastor is wanting to do in that season. So And then from there, you just never know. You end up writing a song that you think's just for your church, and you might find out that there are several churches that are in a similar season, and that song really touches or ministers to them. So anyways, my little songwriting, co-writing group plug here. If you don't have one, start one. It can be just 3 people. I definitely recommend having about 3 people though in a write. So anyways, it can be a songwriting team. It can be an event planning team. It can be a music ministry team that's, just brainstorming and coming up with ideas for the whole music ministry, maybe for the year. It can be a team for another ministry in your church. If you've got other ministries that you're a part of, this collaborative, creative thing applies to every department. I really think it applies to so much more than where we actually use it. But like I said, ask people who are strong where you're weak, but don't forget to include the people who might have similar strengths that you do, because they're still going to bring something different to the table. They're still going to bring a different perspective that's going to be valuable to you. So, yeah. Don't forget to, oh yeah, that's what I just said. So ask people who aren't on your music team. And this is a big one, because I think sometimes we think, okay, so I'm going to put a creative team together for our church music ministry, and I'm going to ask the bass player and this praise singer, and you're asking people who are already on your team and committed, which is totally fine, especially if you've got some good people who are going to commit and, be able to put even more work or extra work in. But creatives come in all kinds. So we don't want to put ourselves in a little box just because it's music ministry. When it comes to event planning, there's so much more that goes into that than just the music or the songs that you're going to sing. So look around your congregation for people who are writers, people who you consider to be visionaries, artists, and I'm meaning that as in any type of artistry, teachers, builders, crafters, entrepreneurs. All of these people are going to be creative people, and they're going to bring something of value to, the planning room, basically. Wherever it is that you are working out ideas and brainstorming, they're going to have something to offer. And you don't want to miss out on their input, especially from their particular, brand of creativity, because you didn't ask people outside of your music team to be a part. Ask people from other departments in your church. This is a great way to get advice or insight from others. If you're putting on an event and like, hey, the youth department puts on this big event and it's awesome every year, maybe get somebody that's part of the youth, staff or whatever, a youth leader, somebody that was involved in planning it, and say, hey, we'd love to have your input. Give us some advice. What are some things that really worked? What are some things that didn't? But collaborate with people from other departments in the church. And again, I think this is just a fun way to really connect across the board, rather than just, we're the music department, they're the youth department. Like, it brings the whole church together. It's a way to bring other leadership together and just do something that, I don't know, God is able to use those things, I think, in mighty ways when we really come together and we are united. So you can get perspective from leaders that engage with different demographics in your church. So like I mentioned, a youth leader, people who are working with children's ministry, maybe your senior ministry, singles ministry, any other ministries that you have. If they're engaging with different demographics in your church that you're not already actively engaged with, then it's great to get their insight and their perspective on some of the things that you're wanting to do, especially because music ministry tends to be a ministry that is supposed to be, reaching everybody. It's supposed to reach all ages. It's got to be, reaching across cultures and all of that in our churches. So it's just important to get feedback from people that are working with others that you might not be. Hopefully all of that makes sense. But don't just collaborate across departments. It's also great to collaborate vertically across leadership levels. So you could have, pastoral leadership, other team members, maybe volunteers, and maybe just people that attend, they're not really engaged in a particular ministry at the moment, but this might be a great way to get them involved and, plugged in to planning and creating something. It's a great way. It's a great entry level, I guess is a good way to say it. It could be a great entry level, like ministry involvement opportunity. And we're always looking for those, right? Ways to engage, people who've just walked in the door and go, I want to do something. Can you get me, involved in some way? This might be a good way to do that. And again, across those different like leadership levels, they're going to bring different perspectives, different biases, depending on what their experiences are as leaders or as a member in the congregation or a volunteer, whatever the case may be. So, and then from there, I just wanted to share a little bit about what to do at a creative meeting, like a creative team meeting, and really how to make sure that you have a creative atmosphere that people can work in, because that is important to the success of creative collaboration. You've got to make sure that the atmosphere that you are creating is going to be beneficial, I guess, to the people that are showing up, and not something that they're going to leave going, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again. So what to do at creative team meetings? Again, this kind of goes back to getting your plan in place, maybe before you go talk to your pastor, but you need to decide if you're going to meet once a month, once a quarter, or if you're going to meet, 4 or 5 times leading up to a particular event. Whatever your vision for that creative team is, you need to decide when you're going to meet and for how often. And really, the idea behind those creative collaborations is you're brainstorming. Now, if you're co-writing, that's a little different. There's still a lot of brainstorming involved, but you're, working to create a finished product really before you leave, or a finished song anyways. But for other things like events or special services, that might be a process of several meetings, and you need to be brainstorming about stuff like that, and maybe what would happen, like if an idea, let's say if you're in a smaller like church setting right now, and there's something that you see like, it'd be so cool if we could do that, but we're just not there yet. But if you get together with a bunch of people that are like, okay, what can we do basically to make sure that we could actually pull this off? Like, you scale that to something that's more workable, it's more doable, and something that you think might be out of your reach. You get a bunch of people together and creativity flowing, then you might be surprised at what you're able to come up with that you can do. One example of this is we are doing a Thanksgiving service. So my husband and I are church planners in Seattle, and we have a small growing congregation, and we wanted to do a special Thanksgiving service that also somehow engaged our community as well. And we had a couple ideas, and they were okay, but it just wasn't where we wanted it to be. And we had one meeting that we just sat around and talked about ideas and what could we do, what were the goals of the service or this community event. And by the end of it, we had some ideas that I was like, I would have never even thought of that if we hadn't been in this room building on, like, okay, what do you think about this? Well, that might be, a good idea, but what if we tweaked it a little and it was this? And you just keep building. And by the time, like I said, we were done with this meeting, like the service and the whole idea that we had planned out, I was like, yes, this is awesome, and we can totally do it, and it's going to be better than I even thought. So again, that creative, collaboration really makes things possible sometimes that we didn't think were going to be possible. And then going, I guess, to the creative atmosphere side of things, this I think is very important to understand from the beginning, especially if you're kind of leading up the creative group, and then also as members are coming in, I think you need to have some clear guidelines, because we can, especially for music people, we get accused of being, sensitive maybe, but in a creative atmosphere, there's really no room to have feelings hurt. You kind of have to put it all aside and go, we're here to achieve those best ideas. And And that means if it's not mine, that's okay. But the creative atmosphere really needs to be something that's open and vulnerable. You want to feel comfortable sharing even bad ideas, and that always happens. It's one of the funny things about being in, a co-write, is that we all know that there's going to be some stuff that, we're just like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but it's okay because it might spark something in someone else. So we make sure that it's okay to throw out bad ideas. Nobody's judging anybody. We might laugh a little. Usually we laugh, but but it's okay. Feelings don't get hurt. We got to make sure that that's understood. So even for ourselves, we have to understand that it's okay if somebody doesn't care for my idea. We're here to get the best idea, not my idea. So that's all right. And it's okay if I don't have the best idea. There might be some times that we get together and my ideas are just like on point. And there's going to be other times where, I might just not be at my most like highest creativity peak, I guess. I don't know. But other people in the room, that's the whole idea. Because when I'm not really just like nailing those ideas, there's other people in the room that are, and they're going to be having those really best ideas. And sometimes maybe we start off and nobody has the best idea, but as we go, we're creating something that is awesome, is going to work. So it's important to not dislike an idea without having a reason or a suggestion for improving or replacing it. And that's one thing that, again, I think this is important, because you don't want to just say, no, I don't like that. But if you have, I don't think that's going to work because, or I'm not sure about that, but what about this? Like that could maybe be built, this might build on what you were talking about or whatever. But it's important when you're in those, creative moments with other people that you don't just dislike their idea and that's it. If you don't have something better to replace it, leave it on the table until you do. Pick meeting locations that encourage creativity. And this is important. I don't know for all of you, and I know for me, when I need that little boost of like motivation or creativity, it helps when I change my space. And I don't necessarily work super well at home, because at home, I have a house to keep up and other like chores and different things that's what happens at home. But when I change my space, it makes a world of difference. So that might be a coffee shop, or, going to the rooftop on our building, or a bookstore, maybe meeting somewhere other than the church if you don't have a great creative space there, or, the place that you meet, you always, it's the rehearsal room. So everybody knows when they come in, we're just rehearsing. It might be good then to pick a place that's outside of your church. But if you have a space maybe that has like whiteboards or chalkboards where people can be writing ideas or sharing some stuff that's visual. Most creative people, at least I think for me, this is definitely true, are visual, like having those things in front of them, being able to write something down and kind of see it as you're thinking it through, can be super helpful. Get outside, like I said, or away from like your normal places. Or if you have the space at your church, create a room that's just dedicated to creativity, and make sure that it's a space that feels good to work in, and it kind of inspires creativity and all of that. And there's probably several different ways that you could do that depending on the people that are on your team and what they like. But I know Hillsong actually implemented what they called innovation rooms. And it's where people brainstorm ideas around particular topics, and then they leave their ideas in the room for others to come in and build on. And then at the end, the ideas are gathered and basically outworked at like key team meetings and stuff like that. And I thought that's really cool too, because again, most of us are working, most of us have families, most of us have other things outside of our ministry involvement. So to be able to go in maybe with a couple people and leave some ideas, and then know that, hey, later this week, a few other people are going to go in, they're going to see those ideas and be able to add to or build on them. That just, I don't know, it seemed kind of cool and fun, like a fun idea to me. So here's the thing. To wrap all of this up, we are human, right? And we don't like change. And we usually have an if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality. And you've probably either heard or said this phrase many times. Well, this is how we've always done it. Sometimes it's not broke, but we can still do better. So if creative collaboration is not something that you are seeing happening right now in your church, you're missing a great opportunity to engage more people, to lighten your load, to delegate a little, and to watch the body of Christ work to its fullest potential. So don't get stuck doing the same thing year after year, assuming that, innovation and growth are happening, but be intentional about collaborating and making sure that creativity is thriving in your church. Collaboration is going to force us to think and act differently, and it really is a powerful, powerful resource for the church. And that is all I have for you guys. I think I got it pretty much in my time frame, so that's good. I know I was talking fast, but like I said, thank you so much for having me. By the way, I'm super excited that I got asked to be a part of this. It's really fun for me, and I love sharing stuff that I'm passionate about too. So thank you, Brother Hoffy.
That was excellent. Everything you said was wonderful. In fact, I was jotting down questions, and every time I would jot down a question, you would answer it for me. So,
oh, good. That's always a good thing.
Yes, everything I was thinking of to maybe ask you, you covered it. It was wonderful. Excellent material. So good. I did have a question maybe, and if anybody else has questions, go ahead and jot those down, and I'll make sure and put you on with Brittani. But one question I had just that was the only thing you didn't answer was one question I really wanted to ask was, what do you tell people that maybe do struggle with delegating or creating the teams to help them? What do you tell them? Some of them really deal with even like feeling guilty, like this is my job, I'm supposed to take care of this, I'm the music director, and they kind of do have struggle with that because of feeling almost guilty. I mean, I know it's a strong word, but I think there are people that do that don't develop creative teams because of that. What would you say to them?
I think the important thing is to remember that, again, going back to like the whole idea of the body of Christ working together. And that's, we were designed to do that. We weren't designed to just carry the load by ourselves or to be a one-man show or, whatever. We were designed for community and to work together. So as far as feeling guilty for something like that, like if you change your mindset to be, this is actually what God has designed. Like He doesn't want me over here working to death and not doing things with even as much excellence as I could be because, of life and other things. He wants us, he wants us to work together. And I think he can use that so much greater. But hopefully, I hope people don't feel, I know people probably do feel guilty for asking others. But the reality is you're going to be way more effective. You're going to do a much better job at what God's called you to do when you delegate the things that maybe are your weaknesses, or even some things that you might not have time for. That's okay. But it's much better to be the best version of you. And if that means that, having a creative team or delegating some things out, then that's what you need to do.
I think that's excellent advice because and I think you mentioned this while you were talking, there's people that they have strengths in those areas that would love to have involvement. All they're waiting on is to be asked.
Yes.
All they're waiting on is to say, man, and I've seen this in our churches that when they do get an opportunity to be on a team or to be involved, they get to have a ministry that they were just sitting on.
Exactly. And we have so many people sitting on our pews that are not involved. And some churches are probably better at this than others, but anytime that you can create a ministry opportunity, and like I mentioned too, like an entry level ministry opportunity, that somebody just walking in could be a part of. If they're just coming in to help brainstorm for an event or something, they don't necessarily have to have checked all of the boxes yet. Right. But anytime that you can create those ministry opportunities for other people, like you are doing something awesome and making an impact in their lives, giving them a way to buy in and say, this is my church. Like I belong here. So that's such a cool thing.
I love what you said too, and I didn't really think of this, and it was great. Is you gave advice of don't always look for the musicians or the bass player. You know, look for people that are just good people, that are solid people, that are creative, that
Yes.
show up on time, and you know, I think that's great advice, because they come from a different perspective sometimes than musicians do, and that's great advice as well. So I hope everybody's jotting these things down in their mind and are thinking right now, like, wow, I think sister so and so, brother so and so would be great to get involved and create this team. And like she said, of course, check with your pastor, double check with him, and just make sure that's all right. I don't think typically there'll be a problem, but it's always great to check.
Yeah.
And so, man, this is great. I know we're running short on time, but you have done a great job tonight. I think others that are here listening and watching are going to really take this home and say, hey, let's get this started, because I think it's a win-win, period.
Yeah.
It really
I agree.
is. I want to just make a real short plug. Sister Brittani didn't say a whole lot about it, but she hosts a great music conference, an online music conference, usually in the fall every year. This year's going to be September 14th. It's called Worship Workshop. It's a great thing. If you haven't been involved with it, check it out. Her dates and links and everything will be on upcimusic.com. We just really think a lot of that conference, and she's doing a great job. This will be her 4th year coming up next year. So take advantage of that. It's a really great thing. You can sit at home and watch some incredible classes and teaching that she is a big part of. So thank you for doing that. It's a great resource. Plus, she has a new EP coming out in maybe April, I think you said?
Yes, April.
April, she's got a new EP, about 4 new songs coming out. The last one she did was amazing. So I just wanted to kind of push that a little bit. We love to support our apostolic artists, and you're doing a great job there in Washington. So
thank you so much.
And thanks down the West Coast.
Yeah.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm so glad you were here. She did a wonderful job, and I think it was something we needed to hear. So we look forward to next month. Actually, next month is going to be December, and we usually take December off because, as you know, with music directors, December is a crazy month. And so with the holidays, we'll start back in January with our next Talk Music webinar. Thank you for joining tonight. Thank you, Sister Brittani.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.